of the city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Gidge.
Here.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Present.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Laws.
Here.
Alderman Lopez. Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Here.
Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderwoman Malizi Goya. Alderman Tenza.
Present.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Clemmons. Alderman Wilshire.
Here. I did hear from Alderman Malizi Goya. She will be joining us at our next meeting. She had a commitment this evening. Communications.
Communication from Lori Wilshire, President of the Board of Aldermen, regarding special Board of Aldermen meeting.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communication and place it on file. Tonight, our discussion will be on the Nashua Sculpture Symposium presented by Kathy Hirsch. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and I apologize that we're going to be seeing small pictures instead of large pictures. But I'd be happy to come back if you ever want to see it again, I guess. Anyway, sculptures. No, because you know why? I have to come over to impress. Okay. So the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium has created many sculptures throughout Nashua that are enlivening our parks. Can everybody pretty much see it? Making our drive more pleasant. Representing important Nashua values like family. Celebrating our industrial history. Embracing our diverse cultures. Offering a place to relax. Giving us something to ponder. Providing games like Mancala. And welcoming immigrants to Nashua. Each year in May, since 2008, sculptors have come to Nashua from around the world to create a sculpture as a gift to the city. People like Sarah May Wasserstrom from Israel and Lubin Boykov from Bulgaria and Michele Goya from Italy, all whose sculptures are at Rotary Common. People like Amgalan Savegmid from Mongolia, Lasha Kitasheli from the Republic of Georgia, and Sunjin Kim from Korea. They look like a very serious, conscientious group, but they really had a lot of fun and silly moments when they were here in Nashua. The symposium work site is at the Picker Artists at 3 Pine Street in the Mill Yard. This is home 6 days a week for 3 weeks for the sculptors as they create their sculptures. They love having visitors like these children from the Ledge Street School. Gerard Mantandi from Kenya loved to sing his Kenyan song to the children. And Jocelyn Pratt from New Zealand was very happy to give everyone pieces of her marble that created her sculpture that is now at Bicentennial Park. The Telegraph has been a great supporter, and they really express exactly what we want to express, that these sculptures are accessible. They're all in public places, and they are created specifically to be able to, for you to be able to access them, to go up to them, to touch them, to feel them, to climb on them. That's really the purpose. It's art as part of everyday living. It is, instead of having to go to a museum or an art gallery to see art and to experience art, it's in your neighborhoods, it's at your schools, it's at the fire station, it's behind City Hall. Everywhere you go, hopefully you will be able to experience the sculpture. So it really surrounds you in Nashua. Sometimes on occasion, once in a while, one of our sculptures gets to be a little bit too accessible, like this sculpture that was installed at Legacy Park this past spring. My husband and I went by the day after it was installed and on our way to dinner, and there were these kids up on the top, over 14 feet high. And so we knew that that was really not going to fly with everybody. So we had to move that sculpture. We moved it over by exit 5, right at the entryway when you come off the Effie Everett Turnpike. And it's absolutely a gorgeous location for it, and it is still accessible, but it's a little less enticing for that age group. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts. There's a lot of pieces to the symposium, whether it's host families or food or the website or tours. There's many, many pieces to it. And just about all of those pieces depend on the community. The bottom line is that the symposium only exists because of the tremendous involvement of individuals, businesses, and organizations. People like Karen Goddard, who has hosted several sculptors over the years, including Tony Jimenez from Costa Rica. We have people volunteer to bring lunches and dinners throughout the 3 weeks for the sculptors as they work at the work site. We never have hungry sculptors. People like Ansel Grandmaison, who since the beginning, since 2008, has lent a hand, has helped to move the sculptures from the work site to their permanent location. We could not do this without Ansel and his truck and his crane. Every once in a while, a sculpture is too big for Ansel's equipment. So when asked, this one was really funny actually, because as he tried to pick it up, the whole truck was going down instead of the stone going up. It was like, this is Speaking Bush by Asta Vasiliaskite from Lithuania. You notice I have to pronounce all these names. Some of these names are pretty big names. And it weighs about 5 tons. And so Kinney Towing came in with their incredible equipment and moved this sculpture that year. And these are all people from the community we call. We say, we really need your help. And they come and they donate that time. We have more in-kind services. The value of in-kind services is higher than our budget. So this past spring, Ansel's equipment wasn't working right, and so he called Chassis Crane over in Hudson. And Chassis Crane came over, brought over this crane, and I have to look at my notes because I want to make sure I get the numbers right. Everyone was blown away by this incredible crane that can handle 175 tons. Our largest sculpture is about 6 tons. So this crane can extend 307 feet in the air. This is already small, but if you really look closely, you will see Bird Dreaming, which is the one at Bicentennial Park, right here in the middle, just absolutely, you can hardly see it with the crane. We have people like Mayor Jim Donchis and Chamber President Tracy Hall, seen here welcoming the sculptors at the opening reception. And they provide valuable resources to the symposium. We are grateful to places like Hunt Community, who hosted us for the opening celebration in 2019, and will be doing so again in 2020. So we're extremely excited about that in their beautiful space. Bronzecraft is one of the companies who has contributed to the symposium. And this is actually an interesting story because Lubin Boykov from Bulgaria was here in 2009, and he created the sculpture Encounter at Rotary Common. It's the one with the 2 figures with the hands almost touching. And it's an interesting story about how that was created. What he did was he collected 9 twigs from Nashua, and he created a mold, and then he went over to Bronzecraft, who poured over 800 bronze twigs from those molds, that mold. And so then he made sure that he ground them down so that the edges were all smooth. He then had 2 young people, a boy and a girl, and he created casts, body casts from them, and then took all of those bronze twigs and used the body cast to create those figures that you see at Rotary Common. So unless you are, around for some of these symposia and see as they progress in their creation, you might not know some of these stories. We certainly have a lot of challenges, just like any organization has a lot of challenges. We have a very strong all-volunteer board of directors, many of whom have been involved with the symposium since the beginning in 2008. Each year we pick a theme. Our theme in 2019 was Evolve because we had so many challenges. One of our biggest challenges and most important challenges is our artistic director. Our artistic director is critical to the success of the symposium. On the left is John Weidman. He's been our artistic director since 2008. He is the founder of the Andres Institute in Brookline, New Hampshire, and the Nashua Symposium is modeled after the symposium in Brookline. Well, John retired in June 2019, this past June, and Jim Larson is now our new artistic director. Jim is a graduate of Hamilton College, majoring in art, particularly in sculpture, and Jim has worked with John at Andres over the past 8 years and has worked with the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium since 2014. So he has a lot of experience, but he is young, and he's very, very talented. He's very energetic, and so now he is our artistic director, which kind of adds a little bit of a new challenge because John has had his traditional view of art, and I think Jim's is a little bit more expressive, his art, and so we'll have to see how that all comes together for Nashua. Another challenge is our location. Since the beginning, we were at NIMCO. We were at NIMCO for 10 years, and that worked very well for us. But as the building continued to deteriorate and the city finalized its ownership of the building, we needed to find a new home. So in 2018, we were at Make It Labs, which we really loved, and we loved the collaboration, but the inside space that we had, our dedicated space, was really too small. So we are at the Picker Building in 2019, and we are hoping that that is our permanent home. And it has great outdoor space, has great parking, thanks to Gate City Fence and the church. It has good indoor space. It has lots of artists who are very interested and always milling around. So hopefully that space will work out well for us. We did have the challenge with this space, though, was that it did not have all of the criteria, like, for example, our power. It did not have 220 power, so we needed to upgrade for that. It did not have a compressor, things like that. So there were an additional probably $7,000 or $8,000 in our budget this past year in order to accommodate our change in our location. Another challenge that we have is once in a while we have a sculpture that's really difficult to find a location for. And that was the case with a walk through Triumph. And so we were very fortunate that Norm Bouthelette at the Boys and Girls Club welcomed this sculpture to their site. It is the only sculpture from the symposium that is not on public property. And I just want to talk a little bit about this sculpture. There's 3 sets of legs, and the first set of legs on the left-hand side represent somebody new coming to our country and setting foot on land in our country. The second set of legs represents that person integrating and becoming part of our country and learning the language and finding a home and finding a job and all the things that you need to do to become, to live here, really, to be able to live here. And then the third set of legs is stepping off into the future. And that is really part of what happens when people come new to our country. It's very exciting, and it's very, very appropriate from our standpoint that it be at the Boys and Girls Club. So we couldn't be more honored to have it there. So, of course, funding the symposium is always a challenge. Our costs are our artistic directors. We pay a stipend of $3,000 each to our sculptors who come from our different countries around the world. They have to cover their own transportation with that $3,000. And then we have materials, the stone, the metal. We have tools, bits, blades, all those types of things. And pretty much everything else is donated by the community. Now that we are a nonprofit organization, we also have administrative costs like insurance and things like that as well. So the sculptures and sponsorships are a great way to support the symposium and to create a lasting memory. Sponsorships are very personal. The Path of Truth by Sarah Mae Wasserstrom from Israel is a great example. When Gary and Joanna Clark Pounder sponsored Path of Truth, Gary talked about why they did so. And he said, I have been searching for a long time for an appropriate way to thank and honor my parents, Ian and Brenda Clark Pounder. I selected this particular sculpture because of its title, its inscription, and its location. You see, my dad has been a member of Rotary for over 20 years and has always supported its mission, service above self. My mom was a welcome wagon hostess in this community for many years and has welcomed many families into the Nashua community. So this location, Rotary Common, this sculpture, the Path of Truth, is a perfect way, in my judgment, to honor my parents and also give back to the community we call home. As I said before, sponsorships are very personal. John Rudolph and his family sponsored La Familia because of its relevance to him and his family. La Familia was purposely placed at Park Social in the Tree Streets neighborhood because it represents the importance of family. 50% of the families in that neighborhood are headed by single females. The Rudolphs are a very close-knit family, and they dedicated the sculpture to John's sister because she was a Spanish teacher. Businesses and residents were so excited when South Nashua finally got its first sculpture that they teamed up and sponsored Mother and Child by Anika Mukambaranwa from Zimbabwe. I'm sure you recognize, or you would recognize if you could see it, several aldermen and several alderwomen who are in this picture and other prominent Nashuans. The Greek community sponsored the sculpture from Greece by Vasily Vasilis, and the Indian community sponsored Gopi Sabana's sculpture from India. There are 8 out of 35 sculptures. There are 8 that are not sponsored, and of course every year we get 3 additional ones. So I have pictures of the 8 that are in here. And certainly, if anyone is ever interested in either sponsoring a sculpture or bringing a meal or other volunteer opportunities, we have plenty of them, and we always welcome them. And honestly, it is really, from our standpoint, the one of the goals of the Sculpture Symposium is to engage the community in the creation of art. So it is part of our mission, it's part of what we want to do. So we are already planning for 2020. Our theme for 2020 is whimsy, which should be very interesting. Our opening celebration will be at Hunt Community, I'm excited to say, and that will be on Thursday night, May 7th. And then our closing is on Saturday, May 30th at 1 o'clock. And one more example of how the community participates in all of that is the trolleys are from the city's trolleys and are donated as part of the effort to bring people around to see all the sculptures at the closing on Saturday. So thank you. I want to thank everyone for making the Sculpture Symposium a success. I want to thank the city for financial support through the National Arts Commission. And I want to thank so many of you in this room and beyond who have been involved in the symposium in some way and in many ways over the past 12 years. You know better than most the importance of involvement in our community because that is what you do every day. It is why Nashua is such a great place to live. Your enthusiasm and support for the symposium is truly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your presentation. That was very interesting.
So I'd be happy to answer questions if there's any questions.
Anyone have questions? Alderman Lopez.
Get that fourth turtle, because we only have 3 right now.
Pardon?
So can we get that fourth turtle since we only have 3?
What? What's the fourth turtle?
You have 3 turtle sculptures. It just feels like there should be a 4th.
Oh. We'll work on that. Probably it's part of whimsy, but I never can tell what I'm going to get with. It doesn't matter what the theme is. They seem to pick their own things. Anything else?
No.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll
Thank
put
you
this
very
back.
much. Appreciate your being here tonight. Okay, do I have a motion? Alderman
Motion.
O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. Motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:26. Regular.